Matt Lombardi was so close to being back in Philadelphia last year, but let's talk to the man who brought that city, that important, beautiful, wild football city, a Super Bowl win, their very first one. Mr. Super Bowl 52 MVP, Mr. Philly, St. Nick, Big Nick Energy, FanDuel partner, and legend, Nick Foles. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's so good to see you. You have a shirt that says Dad Season. So here's my question. Do you ever have these moments, Nick, where you're sitting in the carpool lane, you're picking up your kids from school, and you just go, there's a bronze statue of me outside the link?
You know what? I'm out here in California, so there's not that many reminders of that. So I don't think about it too often. When the Eagles were in the Super Bowl this last year, and I was picking up my daughter from school, there was definitely some people wearing Eagles jerseys, and I saw one of my jerseys, and then obviously a lot of the newer players, and then I even saw a Brent Selleck jersey, which I was really excited about. That was a random jersey. I sent Brent a message right away and said they're representing now in California.
That says the most about you. There's all of these things, but the Brent Selleck jersey got you really revved up. But you're in rare company here. You're a very humble guy, Nick. But come on, the Liberty Bell, Rocky Balboa. Joan of Arc has a statue in Philly, and then it's Ben Franklin, and then it's you. What's the wildest or most memorable sort of fan interaction you've had since that Super Bowl? How many babies are out there named Nick? How many Nick Foles tattoos are roaming around Philadelphia?
Yeah, I've definitely seen quite a few tattoos, and I get text messages, images all the time of a random tattoo or something. I think the big thing is whenever I run into fans, even just yesterday, I ran into a fan playing a little bit more golf right now. So I was at the golf course, and he was just telling me about his story and being at the Super Bowl and how much that meant to him. And tears start coming in the eyes, and that's just part of it. It's emotional. The city of Philadelphia is such a special city. Anyone who spent time there knows how passionate the city is about its people, its sports teams. And I think just the emotion that I see every time I encounter Eagles fans is really special.
Nick, we're so happy to have you. We'll talk a little bit more about the Eagles, but I want to talk a little football with you. It's here. Two of your former teams playing in preseason action tonight. I want to ask you about the Colts because there's this Jonathan Taylor stuff going on. They're saying he has until Tuesday. Hard deadline. Find a suitable trade. There's 6 teams, I don't know who they are, that reportedly have called. Is Indy making a mistake? You played with him. You know him.
You know what? I think, and this is what the team knows as well. I've played a lot of football. I've been around a lot of players, been around a lot of running backs that are amazing players. Some are future Hall of Famers, and JT's in that category of, the talent-wise, if he has the career I think he will have, he'll be in the talks of being in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, he's still early on in his career. He has a lot to continue to prove, but he has that pedigree. He has that ability to do something that's very special. And then on the other side, the guy is a teammate. He's a great teammate. He handles himself in the locker room so well. He's a guy you want to build your franchise around. You know what? There is a business aspect that I don't know the behind the scenes between JT and the Colts. I hope they work it out. I know he means a lot to the city, a lot to the fan base, a lot to that locker room. I'm a huge JT fan. I just hope it works out. I know the business side sometimes gets in the way of a lot of these things with the teams and the fan base and everything. But I'll tell you what, the guy's an outstanding player, outstanding human being, and I hope it works out.
Really well said, and that's what we hear from everybody, but the business side of it is the business side of it. Now, it's something that you can speak to really well. You're like the perfect person to ask about this quarterback situation in the Bay Area. Because the Niners, they say, okay, it's Brock, then it's Sam Darnold, he's the number 2 guy, and it leaves Trey Lance's future up in the air. So what would you say to Trey Lance? What sort of either words of encouragement or just advice would you give to him?
Yeah, I think the big thing is you want to stay in the moment. I know he's probably talking to family members or different people along the way that he really trusts. I think for me in those situations, I learned so much about myself. It's not easy. It's definitely an adverse situation, but everything I know about Trey, and I've only got to meet him really shortly on the field, but sounds like he's got a really good head on his shoulders, looks at things the right way. So the guy is extremely talented. I think the number 3 pick in the draft or something like that. Obviously, They did a lot of research on him, and he's an outstanding player. He just needs to be in an environment where he can continue to grow. I think it'll work out for him. He's just got to go through this time, and in a couple of years to look back and say, the reason I'm able to handle the situation I'm in right now is because of what happened to me currently right now. So this adverse situation is going to help him in the years to come. He's just got to go through it right now, and it'll be all right.
So staying in the moment, I think that's good advice, not just for football and business, but just life in general. But I mean, I think about your career, Nick. You've been through some things, some weird things, like trade from Philly, the time with the Rams, Jacksonville. When you're talking, from this place of experience, what is the single moment of your career that tested you, like you're saying, the most?
I think every year in the NFL, it tests you in one way or the other. Sometimes it's in the tough times where you're traded and you don't expect it. And then the other times it's winning the Super Bowl and finding a way to come down off that high and realizing that football is going to continue. And then the Super Bowl can't help you the next season. And then the last several years of my career, moving from team to team, starting over, meeting new people, moving my family, they've all been different challenges that are going to equip me in life. And I'd say the one pivotal moment always goes back to my year after St. Louis, where I almost stepped away from the game. And I really need to go through that off season and the tough times and not wanting to touch a football and talking to my wife through it all, praying about it all, spending time in, the Bible and journaling. And really there wasn't a lot throughout the off season. It was just tough. And then there was a moment where I realized I was sort of living in fear at that time. And I just said a prayer, and I realized for me to grow as a human being, like it was really just taking that step of faith, going back into the game, going into an environment in Kansas City with Andy Reid where I knew that, hey, if I still love the game and I wanted to play, this is where it would happen. And it was the fourth day of training camp that I woke up and I was reading the Bible, I was studying film, and I realized, tears started coming from my eyes because I was excited to play football. I was excited to go to practice. I was excited to be with the guys, and I hadn't felt that in a long time. So I think that moment helped me so much, and it's really been like 7 years since that moment, and so much has happened since. But that moment helped me when the Super Bowl run came, because I realized, like, I went through all that. I can handle this, just staying in the moment, trusting my teammates, obviously trusting the Lord and going through it. But that's why I say the thing about Trey Lance is what he's going through right now is going to help him in the future, no doubt.
It's true. I mean, I'm even trying to journal now. I've just started that sort of path of, seriously, staying in the moment and just getting it out of your head. And it's so centering and helpful, and faith has a lot to do with that. Even to me personally, that resonates. So I love hearing that from you, and I love hearing about you being excited about football. So I was at Eagles Training Camp a couple of weeks ago, Nick, and I'm talking to Sirianni, and he's insane and madman, and all the OGs were there, Fletcher Cox, and I talked to Lane Johnson and all of them, and everybody. AJ Brown's like fighting people. It's ridiculous. Like, do you miss preseason action? Do you miss training camp?
This has been very different, just through the different journeys. And this offseason, I really told myself it's another soul-searching offseason as it pertains to football. And I've gone through this so many times in my career where you just want to see where your heart's at with the game and everything. But this offseason, I was like, you know what? I'm going to really just enjoy my 3 kids, enjoy my wife, take them to school, make the lunches, and that's an adjustment in itself. So there's a reason why I'm like wearing, dad season. Being a dad and being with your kids, that's training camp is probably, it equips you for training camp. We'll just say that. When they're yelling and tantruming and stuff, that takes a lot of energy.
Okay, what is in the lunchbox? What is that like? What's in the Nick Foles children's lunch pail?
You know what? I little peanut butter and jelly,
of course,
some little cheese sticks and some pretzels, and then the snack, we have some little healthy snack options. There's some fruit and different things like that. And I tried to get really cool with it early in the year, and it just wasn't working. And I saw that he wasn't, our son Duke wasn't eating it. So my wife just said, just make him like a little peanut butter and jelly, melt it a little bit.
What were you trying to make him? What were you making, like rack of lamb for lunch? What are you talking about?
I don't even know what it was. I think just like a gourmet, just like a nice little like sandwich with turkey and cheese melted and all these different things, and he just wouldn't eat it. So I would have eaten it, but he's a kid, so peanut butter and jelly is always a kid's favorite.
Listen, Duke and Lily, they're the luckiest on the planet that they've got you wearing the dad season shirt. You're doing the carpool. You're playing golf, which we love. You're on a journey. What does the future with Nick Foles and the NFL look like in your eyes?
Right now, I'm not sure. Right now, it's just, seeing where my heart is, just like I did so many times in my career. I think every time you move with your family and your kids, and it's a lot, my wife is a champ, Tori's a champ. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you just gave me a lot of credit for the food, but she's the one steering the ship at the house. I'm just I always tell her, like, in the house, you're the starting quarterback. I'm the backup quarterback. I'm going to help you and do everything I can, but you know how everything works so well. But for me in football, I'm not sure. I'm just taking it day by day. I'm sure at some point I'm actually going to be, I'm here. Maybe get involved in my daughter's flag football team and see what plays we can come up with. Maybe run the Philly special. But I'm not doing anything drastic right now. I need to make sure that, I got to see where I'm at, and we'll see through the course of this season if I get excited about it again or what it may be. But right now I'm just excited being a husband and a father, and really just trying to soak it in because these kids are growing up fast, and I don't want to look back and say I missed it.
You have that's such good perspective. And you really do have one of the, I'm just a weird in a good way, but one of the weirder and most interesting. I can't think of an NFL player that has a weirder and more interesting career than you. Can you name one? I can't.
I don't know. I mean, there's been so many of them, but I'll say this: at the end of these 11 years, I've learned a lot, met a lot of people, and I definitely need time to just go through it. And at some point, I'll have to go through my old journals. And I think it's great that you're journaling.
Yeah.
I started several years ago, and I didn't even realize what I was doing until I just poured everything on a paper. And then we eventually wrote a book after the Super Bowl. But yeah, during this time, I'm just going to try to soak it all in, and I'll eventually look back and try to think back throughout the career and all the ups and downs.
It's really well said. Now, we know that you're part of the FanDuel family, which we love, and everyone's going to be excited to see you at FanDuel Fan Fest this Saturday, Xfinity Live. What can fans expect? Any special guests coming? What can you tell us?
Yeah, I know Dawkins and Sproles are going to be there. I'm excited to see them. There's other guys that are going to be there. I think they got some events for us, obviously signing autographs, talking to fans. All the particulars. I think I'm just excited about being at Xfinity Live. I'm so used to being at training camp across, the Broad Street, and now I get to be with the fans and get to be with some of, former players and former icons that I looked up to with Dawkins. And I think just spending time with them. And I know there's some activities that we'll have. I think some competitions between us older players that I'm excited about. But just being in the city of Philly is going to be fun.
It is. And, you were talking about, like, you're removed from it. You're in California. You're making these peanut butter jelly sandwiches. Maybe you go to Philly and you get that itch. Just saying.
You never know.
It could happen.
You never know.
I think
they're pretty good. I think they're pretty settled in their QB room. They have a really solid QB room, and they're a fun team to watch. I was just talking the other day with someone, and they have such a great group of young players, but not only that, but great veterans. And Howie's done a great job of mixing them together to have another year of a dynamic team.
Yeah, Jalen is, zeroed in. Like, he is mega crazy focused, huh?
Yeah, he is. And honestly, in the city of Philly, that's great. I mean, he's doing a great job as a young player leading, and obviously he has a lot of games under his belt now and had an outstanding season last year. And I mean, everything he's doing, you can tell that, everyone knows every time they play the Eagles, this is a really good team. So the Eagles are going to get every team's best shot. And Jalen being locked in is going to give them the best opportunity. But it's a team game, and I know they have a lot of players on all sides of the ball and a lot of great coaches. I mean, they have some new coaches, offense and defense, and that's always the struggle is when you bring in new coaches or a coach gets a new job within the organization, there is an adjustment because it's different personalities, but having that great group of players is really going to help them along the way.
Nick, you're an absolute legend. I'm sure you've got carpool and things to get to. Enjoy the journey. As you're saying, stay in the moment, as we will learn and are inspired to do from you joining us today. And everybody go to FanFest. It's at Xfinity. It's in Philly. You saw the QR code. We'll get all the information out. And you can go up and thank Nick Foles for the Super Bowl and being a legend, and maybe be like, we miss you around the old NFL, buddy, around the old water cooler. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you. Thanks, Kay.
Hey, thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest Up and Adams content right on YouTube.